Can we pop up the shot that we had going to break? The awesome Tom Pelissero coming up. Look at that. Look at that. Look at him standing there so proudly with his NFL Network
Young
white
and
flag.
vibrant.
Well, he's still. What does that mean?
I don't know. What?
He's young and vibrant.
I mean, it's cold. He lives in Minnesota. It's cold.
And so then I look over at the Zoom, and you tell me, is it the same? Is it the same suit?
In fact, I can prove, Rich, it's
You
not
have the
the
suit
same
with you?
suit.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
here is
Yes.
the suit. It's in that photo. You're totally, look at that. Totally different. This
Okay.
is green. I'm wearing green today.
Green.
Not even saying
That's
Looks a
not
little
showing
blue in
green.
the,
Lighting, yeah.
the makeshift lighting of my hotel room in San Francisco. But I do. I'm a big blue suit guy. This is more greenish, I got to say.
Okay.
Attaboy.
it's not reading.
All right, Tom, thanks for coming on. That's all the information we were looking for.
Good seeing you, Tom.
There you go. There you go. Intending to try. Tom Pelissero right here on the program. What was media night like? What do you got for me?
I exited the circus pretty quickly last night, Rich.
Come
after
on.
we did,
Wow.
Come
we
on.
did the insiders. We had John Schneider and Elliot Wolf both on, two guys who, go down a little bit of a time warp, circa 2007 and 8. Or 2007 specifically, the Packers are making a run to the NFC Championship game. Schneider and Elliott are both working in the Packers front office, and I'm working at the Green Bay Press Gazette. So it was quite the worlds
that's so
colliding
cool.
close to 2 decades later, and seeing those guys. Elliott's first time being in this role, is really the architect of the Patriots. And then, of course, John Schneider took 2 teams to the Super Bowl back in 13 and 14, won one of them, and now back on the scene again. So it's pretty cool. If you look at what both those guys have done, Schneider really over several years now, and Elliott getting this thing rolling over the past year. And then once Mike Vrabel arrived, both have done an outstanding job. And, 2 guys who were last night, they were out with their wives and hanging out a little bit. And on Sunday, they'll be mortal enemies for a minute.
That's cool, man. No, that is, distance travel journey. That's what we're into here. That sort of stuff. And John did on your show confirm that Clint Kubiak's going to the Raiders, correct? He just came out and said it.
That's right. And, we reported it. Actually, here's a good one for you. So that news broke when I was in a lay flat seat on a 5.5-hour flight from Atlanta to San Francisco. As we've documented on this show before, I sleep with my AirPods in, and I have Siri on in the event that news breaks. So I get all of a sudden the text read in my ear with the robotic voice. I pop up like the Undertaker and break from 30,000 feet that Clint Kubiak is expected to be the Raiders head coach. So a good moment, certainly on that front. And, for Clint, I mean, it's pretty remarkable, his journey. He's on his 5th team in 5 years. He's been stuck in some really rough spots. The Seahawks went through this extensive process to find their offensive coordinator last year after firing Ryan Grubb. Clint was one of the last people that they interviewed. They liked his, obviously his experience calling plays. They also liked that he was kind of a lower key type of personality. That doesn't always translate to head coaching interviews. But if you're Tom Brady and you've won 6 Super Bowls with Bill Belichick, not exactly a guy you think of as like an alpha male type of a leader. The football is good with Clint Kubiak, just like the football was good with Bill Belichick. They made a really strong pitch. Clint probably could have had the Cardinals job as well. He wanted to go into the Raiders, and that means that in all likelihood, Fernando Mendoza will be getting coached by Clint Kubiak this fall.
Tom Pelisero here on the Rich Eisen Show. Our radio audience just returned in the middle of Tom telling the story about how he broke the news of hearing about Clint Kubiak going to the Raiders while he was flying from Atlanta out to San Francisco. Highly impressive, detailed story, Tom, and especially I salute you for dropping the fact that you were in a lay flat seat while getting from. I mean,
what a flex.
did you guys catch that? I mean,
Thanks.
you could have told that story without the lay flat.
He could have just been like,
No,
I
I
was
couldn't
sleeping
have,
on the
though.
plane.
Right.
It's not as dramatic because how far can you recline? It's like from here to here.
Yes.
But if you're in the lay
Unless you're in
flat
front of me.
seat, I had to do the full
Undertaker.
Undertaker in the coffin all the way up to a 90-degree angle.
okay.
Probably scared the people
Ab
next
strength.
to me with how quickly I popped up. But that's why you got always a lot of tweet drafts in the chamber because you got to know which ones might be coming that
Don't
day.
skip core day.
That's it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Certainly, if you want to break news,
Right.
kids. Tell the kids out there. Tom Pelissero, the first class story right here on the Rich Eisen Show. So, are we done talking about Drake May's shoulder now, or what?
No.
Are we done?
It's a situation where, we'll see the first injury report of Super Bowl week will come out tomorrow.
Come on, the Patriots will have 15 questionable people. It's still the Patriots. They may have changed the coach, changed everything.
Unless they
right?
list him as full. Right. You're
Okay.
right. I mean, everyone was questionable last week. They've got that history going way back, but they've removed people from the injury report this season as well.
Right.
We'll see. It's something in that at minimum, it caused them to reduce his reps last week. Does not sound like anything that people are concerned is going to drastically alter his ability to play on Sunday. You just don't know, though. It's, Drake said it himself when he was asked about it. He's like, somebody asked him, like, are we making too much of this? He's like, well, it's a quarterback's throwing shoulder. Yeah, exactly. You just don't know until you get into the game just how much, if at all, it might limit him. There's different things you can do to manage pain in those situations. What we have to see is just exactly how functional is he. I don't get any sense, talking to Elliott last night, talking to other people, I don't get any sense that we're really concerned about Drake Maye. He's going to start in this game, but just in terms of, does it impact him at all? Could he have a setback? I mean, we all, I think, still have PTSD from watching Carson Wentz's right shoulder injury get gradually worse and worse and worse until, he's basically being shoveled off the field by the end of that game against the Rams this season. You just don't know. Again, I don't get the sense it's something major, but it is something to monitor just because it's quarterback's throwing shoulder and he was limited going into the Super Bowl.
Okay. And Darnold's oblique. Are we done talking about that?
Not done talking about because he's going to have to manage it. It did not. I was actually, pleasantly surprised for Sam that it was not more of an impact in the NFC Championship game, because anytime you're talking about whether it's a pitcher in baseball or a quarterback, anybody who's a thrower, those oblique injuries can progressively get worse. You never know if the wrong movement is going to cause it to get worse. I never saw him hampered. I never saw him, wincing at all through the course of that game. Again, they've been limiting his reps. They're being very cautious because the last thing they want is, an extra rep in a Friday practice, which is where he got hurt initially, was in the last practice of the week before, the conference championship game. And all of a sudden, or maybe it was the divisional game, but all of a sudden he pops up on the injury report and you're like, uh-oh, that's not a good thing here. But don't get any sense that we're concerned about that one either. Both quarterbacks should be healthy, just a matter of, making sure they don't suffer setbacks in the game.
Okay, so what are you looking what are you looking in your notebook about for Super Bowl 60 you'd like to throw out there for everybody? Tom.
Well, one notable injury is Harold Landry for the Patriots. I mean, that's a pretty significant player. Their leading sack guy was not able to play in the AFC Championship game. They gave him a podium at Super Bowl media night. There was one guy who was camped out with a camera in front of him for about 4 hours by himself, so he was very interested in Harold Landry. But I would say anytime you're talking about the best pass rusher on a team who didn't play in the last game, let's see. They listed him as questionable last week. Let's see if he's able to ramp it up and give it a go, because that's a pretty big piece of this. Same thing with Charles Cross, the Seahawks. No reason to think that he's not going to play, but again, limited through the course of the practice week. How effective is he going to be? If we zoom out, just, in terms of some of the macro storylines here, you got two head coaches who have not been in this game. You got two quarterbacks who have not been in this game. You got a lot of people on both sides who have not been, at this point. Every team's, Super Bowl week is a little bit different. I know the Patriots were out at Stanford yesterday. The weather was nice enough that Elliott told us he got sunburned at practice, which is a little different than 15 years ago when he was in Dallas with the Packers and there was an ice storm and no one could get around all week. But they were out there. They did a normal 90-minute practice. They're going through this like a normal week. The Seahawks will get rolling really in earnest on the field tomorrow. And we'll see who handles these elements better. The weather is great here in Santa Clara, or I'm up in San Francisco now, but it looks like it'll be in the 70s on game day. So that part should not be, any type of a significant factor. But who better handles the entire week and just kind of the uniqueness of the extended pregame, the extended halftime, all those things. Vrabel was in it obviously as a player. He does have that experience. Mike McDonald has plenty of different resources he can go to, but tons of players on both sides and coaches who've not been in the Super Bowl before. To me, that's always one of the biggest storylines, is just who handles the uniqueness of this week better.
Okay. And do you have a story on either side or one player in the Super Bowl? Because you were talking to John Schneider and Elliott Wolf, who almost wasn't acquired by a team by a Super Bowl team in this Super Bowl 60. That sliding door did in fact open up, and that player is here, and it's a big difference. Do you got a story on that front?
I mean, there's a bunch of them on both these teams. I mean, start out, and John Schneider took us through last night how they acquired Sam Darnold. I know we've talked about it before, but, they started at the combine. Geno Smith wanted a raise. They offered him a raise. If Geno had taken it, Geno Smith is still the quarterback of the Seahawks. Geno wasn't happy with what the offer was. All of a sudden, the Raiders pop up with an offer for Geno. They get a third-round pick for him and get Sam Darnold for less money, 10 years younger, plus a third-round draft pick for a guy who led him to the Super Bowl. But it was that close. If Geno had been willing to play on his deal, or if he had accepted the contract offer, he's still the quarterback of the Seahawks right now. Rashid Shaheed, that was a protracted negotiation between the Saints and the Seahawks. There was at least one other team that was involved on Shaheed. It ended up being a pretty significant price, but nobody right now is caring about whether it was a fifth-round pick or a fourth-round pick for Shaheed. The impact that he has made has been substantial for that Seahawks team. I mean, he's arguably the most important player that they've had in terms of just the impact that he's made really throughout the second half of the season and into the playoffs. On the Patriots side, I mean, there's a couple of them. Milton Williams, who there was actually a report that Milton Williams was going to the Panthers. What it sounds like happened, if my memory has served me correctly, was Milton Williams, the Panthers think they've got to deal with him. He's one of the highest profile free agents. Of course, made a huge impact in the Super Bowl last year, where he was like a backup type of player. He played a bunch, but he was not like one of their frontline guys for the Eagles. Has a huge playoff run, a huge Super Bowl, has a huge offer from the Panthers. They think that deal's getting done, and like a minute later, the report comes out, and all of a sudden, the Patriots swoop in with, "We'll do better. We'll pay." I think he got $27 million a year, and they got him away from Carolina. Milton Williams was nearly not a Patriot. It all comes back to Drake Maye, and we talked with Elliott about that last night. He said they were never truly close to trading that pick, but they did take it all the way up to, I think I reported about 3 p.m. on draft day, they're staying, because we all knew 1-2 was going to be Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. It was going to be a matter of, could the Giants or the Vikings, who both made offers, get up into number 3? I know the Vikings, like the last year, the night before, the day of, they sent one more offer over, and it involved pick swaps and other things. They took a good run at it, but the Patriots decided ultimately they thought they knew what Drake Maye could be. They decided to stand in. There's some parallel universe out there where they decide, man, we can't pass up multiple picks for this. We'll trade back and we'll take Penix or J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix, and Drake Maye goes to the Vikings. That's not the universe we live in. Drake Maye is a finalist for the MVP and starting the Super Bowl in year 2.
I knew asking that question would yield results, and you stuck the landing there, Tom. But cycling through all of that is the fact that the Vikings just fired their general manager, and Sam Darnold's in the Super Bowl. And I understand you've said before that these things are not, you can't draw a bright line to connect both dots, that there's lots of other dots and things of that nature. But what exactly did the Vikings offer Sam Darnold? What did happen on that piece? Because you just mentioned the piece in Seattle that had Geno Smith accepted the raise that was being given him, that he'd have stayed, and the Seahawks would have gone into battle with him. But what about the other end? What about the other end of it, Tom?
My understanding is the Vikings offer was structured similarly to the Seahawks offer. It was a multi-year deal, but it was really a 1-year commitment. If you look at Sam Darnold's deal with Seattle on paper, it's a 3-year, $100 million deal, but really they could get out after year 1. And that's because the Seahawks, their contract structure, they don't do guarantees into future years in virtually every case. But it was for less money. The money was there, but more important than, the money, whatever that difference was, 10 million or whatever it was, more important was Sam Darnold could go there and be the guy. He was not going to have J.J. McCarthy still looming and, being right there. And if, things went wrong for Sam Darnold, then all of a sudden it's handing off to J.J. McCarthy. I think that one of the things that gets lost here, Rich, is, and this is, I'm not knocking Sam Darnold, but go back. I think people have forgotten what the last 2 games of Sam Darnold with the Vikings looked like. Week 17, I believe it was, when they were hoisting him on their shoulders in the locker room and pouring water on him, and Kevin O'Connell was standing back like a proud dad. A week later, week 18, they have the number 1 seed on the line in Detroit, and that was the worst game Sam Darnold has played over the last several years. He missed Justin Jefferson multiple times wide open in the end zone. There were just red zone failures early. He flat out was off. He played poorly in that game, which then meant instead of having the bye in the number 1 seed, the Vikings had to go in the end to Arizona to face the Rams, because I believe there were the wildfires at the time that relocated that game. And the entire offense didn't play well. So as you got to the end of it, it wasn't this no-brainer, like, we have to keep Sam Darnold. He's an all-pro and he's going to go to the Super Bowl next year. It was, Sam Darnold, as well as he had played really well for 17 weeks. Those last 2 games made you go, is this the Sam Darnold that at other stops in his career, when the pressure is ratcheted up, he's come a little bit unglued? That's not happened in this postseason. Obviously, there were some things that went his way. The second game against the Rams, where there were some bounces and weird things that happened in that game. Zach Charbonnet picking up a rolling ball. I mean, that kind of got the monkey off his back, in the proverbial way. And it seems like Sam relaxed a little bit, and he's played well after that. But at that time, at the end of last season, it wasn't like a slam dunk. I mean, hindsight's 2020. Could you go back in time and franchise tag him? You could, but the tag was $40 million. He didn't even he got 33 per year on an extension. Usually you're not going to tag somebody at a number $7 million higher than what they're getting on a long-term deal, because that gives the player all the leverage. And then the baseline that they would accept would be $40 million plus another $48 next year, which is the second tag, 120%. It's 88 over 2. He wasn't getting anything close to that. And so logically speaking, if we take the emotion out of it, logically speaking, it made sense for the Vikings to say, we're only going to go up to here because we're not going to make the type of multi-year commitment that's going to keep us from giving J.J. McCarthy his opportunity. I've seen other complete nonsense out there, quite frankly, Rich, this week, that they were getting ready to trade J.J. McCarthy and Kwesi pulled the plug, that there was, a toxic environment between Kwesi and Kevin. None of that is true. And I can tell you that objectively speaking, as somebody who is pretty wired into the NFL and specifically wired into the workings of the Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah are friends. They never had a personal issue. There were things they did not see eye to eye on. They had disagreements. Certainly the way that things played out at the quarterback position was not ideal for anyone. And everyone would love to go back in time and have the foresight to go, Sam Darnold's going to play like a top 10 quarterback and go to the Super Bowl this year. Of course you keep that guy. But really, when it came down to the firing of Kwesi, it was a lot of different things in totality. They don't have a quarterback answer. They have a salary cap issue that they have to clean up. The drafts on the whole, there were certainly hits in there. Jordan Addison was a big one. The kicker, Will Reichard, was one. That there have been good picks. There have been some that didn't work out. They had to figure out what the path was forward. The Wilfs always hold these meetings a couple weeks after the season to kind of have everyone take a breath and go out there. It seems like the Wilfs asked some pointed questions. They heard very honest answers from multiple people. They decided there was not a path forward for this particular group. And so Rob Brzezinski, who's a highly respected executive, is going to run this thing through the draft. Kevin O'Connell is certainly going to be leaned upon and his staff more in the free agency process and in the draft process than they probably were in the past. They'll run a GM search after that, and we'll see where that leads. But it was not strictly, outcome-based. Sam Darnold's in the Super Bowl. Let's fire the GM who got rid of him. There were a lot of different factors. And let's also not forget, Rich, plan B in this thing was bring back Daniel Jones. They had essentially the same offer on the table to Daniel Jones. Jones decided to go to Indianapolis. They pulled the offer when they realized Jones was just using them as leverage to go to the Colts. He went there for some of the same reasons, which is there was a clearer path. You're not as threatened by Anthony Richardson as you are by a guy in J.J. McCarthy, who they had just drafted number 9 overall, and you knew one way or another was eventually going to get his shot.
Tommy P., you're the man. Thanks, Tom. Greatly appreciate it for various reasons. Your information is outstanding, too. I'm staying in the same hotel as you, and I'm checking out your room, and it better not be bigger than mine. Just,
King bed. I know that's a big deal for you, Rich.
Okay.
King bed.
You know what I mean?
So we're all set.
But just to show you there's nothing personal here, just leaving you in a better spot, I can confirm, in case you've heard the rumor, that I am checking a bag. So you can break that. No, excuse me. You can break that news. Okay, Tom? Go for it.
You got a lay flat seat from L.A. to SFO?
I doubt it. It's probably going to be one of these things. That's it. It's probably going to be one of these things. But I'll let you know when I see you. I'll let you know.
Thanks, Rich.
You
Thanks,
bet.
fellas.
Hey, see you, Tommy.
Tom Pelissero, the one and only. Great stuff right there. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.